you are always going to have the outliers, which is where we talk about the narcissistic bully, which is one of my absolute favourite topics.
All right, let's go.
Are you happy to segue into that?
Yes, we are. So let's say this term has been bandied about. I am not a psychologist or a psychiatrist.
Neither am I.
I have some understanding of narcissism. What do people mean for you when they say the narcissistic bully? I would call them an unreasonable person as a banner. What's a narcissistic bully like?
Right, okay. So here's the thing. This is where workplaces have got to level up in their understanding, because there's lots of workplaces that have narcissistic bullies. You've got bullies, right? But bullies can actually be you can actually work with a bully in terms of communication charters.
Setting the boundaries.
With a bully in terms of setting boundaries. This is what we expect, and not letting poor behaviour continue.
Got it.
Now, if you've got a bully who's a bully and can be managed that way, that's awesome.
Great.
All right? And a lot of people will fall into that category, by the way.
Okay, good.
Now, the narcissistic bully will not.
Right.
Now you've got a problem.
Okay.
Right. So the narcissistic bully is the person who will come into so you've got the idea of narcissism is sort of this idea that the narcissist thinks that, so there's a couple of things, right? If you look at narcissistic personality disorder, which is you know a bit of a different thing, but essentially it's someone who believes they don't have to follow the same rules as everybody else, that they're better than everybody else.
Yes.
That they should live by a different set of rules to everybody else.
Yes.
That everybody else was just too stupid to get the memo about how to run life, but they understand it and everybody else doesn't. They lack empathy. They don't really care about other people. People are very much it's sort of possessions or what am I going to get from you? It's not connection for people on the sort of that human connection level.
Got it.
They think very differently. They don't care about, they don't feel bad the same way that someone else might feel bad about something. They don't really care.
Got it.
Doesn't really bother them. So, look, the narcissistic bully is that bully in the workplace, right, who possibly has narcissistic personality disorder, but seeing as we're not diagnosticians, we won't go down that road.
Okay.
But they are the person who comes into a workplace and and what you find is sort of a trail of destruction in their wake. So what you'll see is suddenly a team, for example, that worked really well before, that really got along great, that really supported each other. Suddenly they're suspicious of each other. Suddenly they don't trust each other. Suddenly there's all this team conflict where there wasn't before. Nobody trusts anybody anymore, and their productivity will have lowered because they're actually so busy scanning for threat that they haven't got any time to do the work that they need to in their heads because they're so hypervigilant that something is going to go wrong, or they're going to get criticised for something, or they're going to get attacked over something. So that's the first thing that happens. So what a narcissistic bully will do, and they're tricky to spot, and this is why, and these are the people honestly in workplaces who cause the most amount of damage. They leave a trail of destruction, and people, managers often and leaders don't realise, and that's a couple of reasons. So firstly, a narcissistic bully has a very fragile ego, but that's not what you see. So they've got really, really, really fragile self-confidence and a huge ego that's very fragile, but they don't show that. So they are often incredibly charismatic.
Yes.
They are very confident about everything. They manage up beautifully.
Yeah, I was going to say they manage up.
They manage up beautifully. So they are very good at being this fantastic, charismatic, super together person for anybody who is in management with them or above. And then they're demons to anybody that's below them because anyone who's not going to help them make any steps further in their career is irrelevant to them. So they don't care.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so what will happen is managers will often not be aware that they've got this narcissistic bully because to them they think, wow, this person's great. Like they're fun, they're smart, they're charismatic, they seem to know everything, they seem to be incredibly competent in their work. And so they thrive, right? And so in the midst of that person thriving, you've got this poor broken team that potentially worked incredibly well before but now no longer does. And then one of the issues is people are going, well, as leaders, how do we know that they're there? What do you do with a narcissistic bully?
Especially if I can't tell because they're wonderful with me.
Exactly. So then there's like learning a few things as that person. So, and this is another area I'm incredibly passionate about because so many people I've dealt with have come into contact with these narcissistic bullies, and they are very, very dangerous. They are very difficult to manage, and workplaces are unfortunately not often skilled enough to spot them.
No.
They don't listen enough. To be honest, and they're not educated enough. So there's a few things you need to watch out for as a leader in an organisation. So first of all, if you've got a team that worked really well before and now suddenly doesn't when this person has arrived, that's a first red flag.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
So everything was fine. Now suddenly the team doesn't trust each other. The team's highly suspicious of each other. Their productivity's dropped. Everybody, there's increased team conflict because the narcissistic bully will also stir up trouble between employees, right? It's all divide and conquer, yeah?
Yes.
And if everybody's isolated on their own, they're a lot weaker than if they're together as a team. So the first thing a narcissistic bully does is try to isolate everybody.
Got it.
Right? They pick them off. And then they play favourites within a team.
Yes.
So they'll be like, okay, I'm gonna be nice to this team person this week, and then I'm gonna drop them like a hot potato next week, and I'm gonna be nice to the next person. And then this creates this sort of this inconsistency, this lack of psychological safety. We don't know where we're at. There's no fairness. There's no sort of where's the authenticity? Where's the consistency? I don't know where I stand. Right? So that's what they do. They love that. They play one off against the other beautifully. They're masters at it. They're very, very clever. So then what happens is people in the team will go to this narcissistic bully and they'll say, hey, listen, you know, what's happening isn't okay. And they bring it up with this bully. And then the bully does DAVO. Have you heard of DAVO?
No.
So it's a term, unfortunately, it's also applied a lot in the family domestic violence setting. So DAVO is deny,
Yes.
attack,
Yes.
reverse victim order.
Got it.
Right?
Got it. Yeah.
So first of all, when you're dealing with a narcissistic bully, it's a tactic that they use very, very frequently. First of all, they deny. So you'll say this happened and they'll go, no, it didn't. And you'll think, wait a second, hang on. Because you're a normal person, right? So you're sort of like, well,
We were both there.
hang on, we were both there, right? Like
Yeah.
this is what happened.
Yeah.
And then they'll go, well, you should really be looking at the stuff that you did because last week you made this mistake with blah, blah, blah. And then what people will do is they'll go, oh, I've been attacked. I've got to defend myself, right? So then the person starts defending themselves,
Oh, yes,
right?
yes.
So instead of focusing on what they've come to talk to the bully about, they've now been like, they've been pushed off in another direction. I didn't do that. And this is why I did that. And they're busy defending themselves. And the bully goes, yeah, you know, so this is the stuff I've got to put up with you. It's really hard for me. And that person walks away from that interaction and thinks, what?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
And that's one of the other red flags is when you have an interaction with a person and you walk away really confused. Like you're
Yes.
not sure. That conversation didn't follow any type of chronological expected social convention order. It was all really messed up. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
It's DAVO.
Got it.
And DAVO is their MO. Like they will do it for everything. It is deny, attack, reverse, victim order.
Got it.
So most people are so busy defending themselves from this thing they've been attacked about.
Yes.
And then at the end of it, this person then manipulates them to feel bad again and is like, see what I'm having to put up with you from you. You know, you're really lucky I haven't gone to the manager about you. And the person goes, oh, shit.
Yeah.
I better watch myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they walk away from that interaction and they're really confused. They don't really understand what happened there.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, maybe I didn't like remember that accurately.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I created, I really better reflect and really think,
Yeah. Yeah.
did I make a mountain out of a molehill? Did I misconstrue something? And they'll go, right, oh, this is me. So this is the other thing that narcissistic bullies will do is they'll make you unsure of yourself. They'll make you question yourself because you've essentially been gaslit.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right. Yeah.
And because you've been gaslit, unless you're very good at seeing gaslighting, so people who've experienced relationships, for example, where they've been consistently gaslight are usually pretty good at going, you're gaslighting me, don't.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But a lot of people, when it's the first time they've encountered that, are like, what's going on here? Right? Because they're confused. And so then there's this confusion, right? And this person goes, oh, okay. And then they're worried about bringing things up with this person again because this person's made them feel very ashamed of their own behaviour.
Yes.
But let's say something else happens and this person tries to bring it up with them again and the same thing happens. They walk away from the interaction really confused and then they go, right, that's it. I need to go to the manager above them because this isn't working. So they'll go to the manager above them. They'll say, okay, X, Y, or Z has happened. And often what will happen is that manager won't believe them because the narcissistic bully manages up beautifully, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know what you're talking about.
No.
So as leaders, you've got to be aware of a couple of things. So when you've got teams who are coming to you and are saying about, you might have multiple people complain about the same person. And a lot of leaders are very quick to go, this is a personality clash. If you've got a lot of people telling you the same old story, again, we talk about a pattern. You know how we mentioned that in the beginning? Bullying's a pattern. A narcissistic bully has a pattern. It's a pattern of events. So it's like, okay, I've had multiple people come and they'll often say things like, I tried to bring this up with them, but, or I tried to have this discussion with them, but, and they'll often say like, I left feeling really confused, or I wasn't really sure, like we've got no resolution. And now I feel like I'm the one that's done the wrong thing when it wasn't me that did the wrong thing. You've got to be on the lookout for hearing things like that because this is the stuff people will say. And then the other thing they've got to be very aware of is that if the leadership team does nothing about the narcissistic bully, is the detrimental effect that has to the psychological safety in the team. Because what we've been shown is, as a team, you can do what you want. We've got no boundaries and we've got no expectations. It's carte blanche for you. Do what you like. So everybody knows there's the lack of accountability, is a lack of safety. Now people don't want to speak up at all.
No, it's worse if you speak up.
It's worse if you speak up.
Also, to even have more than one person go to the manager, there's a strength in the team because the narcissistic bully will often make the team feel so insecure that they wouldn't feel safe to go above. Because if the narcissistic bully has the other perspective and they're already confused, it's like when often I'll talk to people who really want to leave an organisation because it's bad for them in whatever way, and the more time goes on, the less confidence they'll have in themselves.
Because their confidence is actually being shattered through a series
And I'll say, it's not, you are the same as you've always been. You've been in this environment for too long, and it's always so sad. It always takes a lot longer for them to leave because they think, I won't get anything else because I'm just not good at what I do.
Because that's the other thing. So the other problem with the narcissistic bully is because of the gaslighting and because of the DAVO, they're very good at making the person or people feel like, they do. They go straight for the confidence, right? They'll destroy people's confidence and destroy their they may have been very confident and competent in their capabilities before, but now that person no longer is. Because they've been they've been fact-checked on things, or they've been micromanaged, or they've been, they've been insulted for things that they were doing, often very passive-aggressive, right? And so all of these things happen and it just slowly depletes people's confidence, right? And because the interactions, if you're working with someone and you have to be around them so often, each interaction depletes that person's confidence a little bit more, right? So if you're a leader of an organisation and this is a pattern that you're seeing with people, or you're seeing someone who was suddenly very competent and really good at their job, suddenly they don't trust themselves, that's another red flag.
Yeah, I was going to say you've really got to be look out for the red flags because you'll be only experiencing a charismatic, clever, well-worked person, and then that would have most of us fall for it, even if we've got a level of experience. It'll be, are you getting feedback from other people? Are you watching negative things occur? Are you aware enough of the team? And does the team have enough psychological safety with you
to come to you? Because
if they think you're on the side of the narcissistic bully, they're going to feel unsafe to come to you because you'll probably tell the bully and then they'll have even a worse time than what they've been having.
Yes. So that's the other problem is now how, as a person, if you're working with a narcissistic bully, what do you do to keep yourself safe?
I know.
So now there's a list of things you have to do there because the normal approach is to, hey guys, hey mate, let's just maybe we got off on the wrong foot. Let's try and restart this relationship again. Let's try and find a common ground. Let's do this. Let's do that. That normal approach doesn't work because they don't care. They're more than happy that you're not happy. They don't really care.
They not even not care. They'd probably be happy because you're weakened.
Yeah, you're weakened, and every time they weaken someone, because their egos are so fragile and their self-confidence is so fragile, every time they weaken someone else,
they can feed off it.
Yeah, it's great. They are feeding off it, essentially, is what's happening.
You said there were things people could do.
There are.
What are some of the things that if I was in that team, and of course I'm thinking of experiences where I'm like, oh, I've had that experience. So what could I do if I was in that team and my manager wasn't willing or able to help me?
Right. So there's a couple of things you have to do. So first of all, you've got to start thinking like a lawyer and you've got to start building your evidence.
Okay.
So I say to people when they're experiencing this, I'm like, and they're like, oh, I've tried to talk. I'm like, forget trying to talk to them and forget trying to appear to their human side. Forget it.
Yeah.
It's a waste of time. And it makes, and you're trying to be vulnerable to get that person to be vulnerable back. It's not going to happen. It actually puts you, they're people who weaponize vulnerability.
Yes.
So we don't share personal things with a narcissistic bully.
Yes.
We get very careful about what we share. So the first thing is be really careful about what you share with that person.
Yes.
Because they're not to be trusted.
No.
Right? So don't share anything personal if you don't absolutely have to, right? And anytime you are being railroaded into it, try and find a way not to say anything, right? Mm-hmm. Don't be rude. Just be really factual. That's the first thing. The second thing is you need to start documenting everything that happens. So I recommend to people, I say, get a little exercise book and start noting what happens. And they go, what? And I go, don't keep it on a computer. Don't keep it in any work documents. Don't keep it where anyone can see it. You get yourself an old-fashioned notebook and a bloody pen. And this is what you do. You time, you date, what happened, what was said. You time, you date, what happened, what was said, and was anyone else around, right? And you do that and you keep the evidence. You have a little notebook. And maybe at the end of the day, you go in and you keep it at home so it's not in your work office. It's nowhere near where this person can get hold of it either because you don't want them to get hold of that.
No.
But you keep it, all right? I mean, and I say the same thing if you're being bullied in a workplace as well. You keep a diary. Because the thing is people go, well, tell me what evidence you've got. And people go, oh, I don't know. They were like mean to me.
Yeah,
and everyone's like, yeah, awesome. Give me something.
Yeah.
And
I
people
can't work
do
with
need
that.
evidence.
They do.
I can't work with that. And to be fair to... And we've got to be fair to people who are in this managerial process. Like we've got to give them what they need too. So I say, okay, where's your evidence? And people go, oh, but I'm like, I get that you, and I validate that this is a really awful experience for you. This is really difficult. And it's really unfortunate and it's not fair that it's happening to you. But now you've got to start thinking like a lawyer. You've got to empower yourself to take control of this situation. So document everything. Document all evidence, every interaction that you've had with them where you felt confused or you were upset or you felt that they behaved in a way that was unreasonable. You keep you time, you date, you write exactly what happened, keep anything emotive out of it, keep it really factual.
Yes.
And if anyone else saw it.
And then how many of those do I need before I go to the manager and say I want to talk to you about?
With a narcissistic bully, you might have 10 interactions in one day.
Wow.
You know, it really depends. I say be very careful about where you keep that. Like I said, keep that diary away from don't keep it at your work desk. So even if you maybe make quick notes in your phone and then at the end of the day you document it. And there's two reasons why that's useful. A, you're also helping your mental health because you're actually diarising what's happened. So when you do that, you're also allowing your brain to process it and you're also getting it out of you so that it's not stuck inside you.
The Rick Hansen name it to tame it.
Name it to tame it, right? So this is what happened, right? And you keep a list. And then the other thing and I would wait until you've got evidence over a period of time. If you really want to go to your manager with a strong case, but sometimes a week, 2 weeks.
Okay.
But you've got to, and like, because this is where this could have been happening for months. And then suddenly you're like, right, I've got to wise up now and I've got to start thinking like a lawyer. And that's the first thing you've got to do. Because when you go to the manager says, show me. And you go, here.
Well, it's what the manager has to do to be able to performance manage is to be able to say this is what happened when.
This is what's happened.
So the staff member needs to take the same approach for it to be something that's workable, right?
Absolutely.
Not they made me feel bad one day recently.
Or they've made me feel bad all the time.
All
and you're
the
like,
time.
great. So give me the examples.
Yeah.
Right. And I know that and you can validate that sucks. Like I've had people go, this is so unfair. I'm like, yeah, you're absolutely right. It is unfair. But if you want this to work in your favour, you've got to play the game.
Do you want to be right or do you want to be happy?
Exactly. Right? Do you want to be right or you want to be happy, right? I acknowledge that this is shit. It's shit. And it's really awful. It's also incredibly damaging. It's life ruining. So that's the first thing you do. The second thing you do is you have as limited verbal conversations with this person as possible. because that's where narcissistic bullies are very good at making things happen. It's verbally, because nothing's in writing, right? It's hard for them to prove things afterwards. So the other thing is they might say something to you and you send them an email afterwards, just following up on the conversation we've had where you asked me to do X, Y, or Z, just checking that and just confirming that that's what you want me to do.
Perfect.
Right. So, and the narcissistic bully will also be annoyed you've made them put something in writing, but they also know then they usually start to wise up around the fact that potentially
you might be building a case.
You might, yeah. And so then they know they have to toe the line a little bit too. But like anytime, and I've watched narcissistic bullies bail people up in a workplace to, you know, tear or put them in an office and tear shreds off them. Of course, no one's there to see it. So if you're also in that position, you might say to that person, look, I'd really prefer we communicate via email. And they're, oh, can I just see you in my office for a moment? You might go, oh, look, I would really prefer we communicate via email.
Good.
If that's okay with you. Thanks.
Yeah, good.
Very polite, but boundary.
Yeah.
Do you want to communicate? That's fine, but we'll put it in writing.
Yeah, I like those. They're very good. So we're going to document what's happening and make sure we've got specifics, times, date and facts.
Exactly. Communicate any instruction you're given verbally, anything you've been told to do, follow it up with an email.
Just email.
Just following up on our earlier conversation about blah, blah, blah. Just checking that you want me to do blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Because it's in writing.
Yeah.
And then later on, if that person's told you to do something you don't think's right and then you've gone off and done it because that's what you've told them to, where's the proof to say that they told you that? Because a narcissistic bully will go, I never told you to do that.
That's right.
What are you talking about? Right. You got this wrong.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to actually imagine you actually are keeping a case, right? You do all of that. You don't reveal personal information to this person. You avoid any type of verbal conversation with this person as possible. You give them as less, you try to limit any of their access to any of the stuff that you're working on or anything that you're doing.
Right.
Right. The problem is it's difficult if that bully is also your manager because obviously there's a variety of things they'll have to see, but limits. And when I say limit, I mean, just don't show them anything unnecessary. Don't show them anything unnecessary. Just don't.
It's so tricky because part of their technique as they reduce your confidence will have you wanting to sort of overprove yourself to them. So it's
you work harder.
Yeah, or want to show them more stuff or say, I'm getting it right, you know.
Don't.
Yeah.
Don't.
Have yourself as number one.
Part of this is you have to remember when you're in a situation like this, you're not dealing with a normal person. And you're not dealing with normal approaches to things, so throw it out. And that's the other thing I say to people is forget what you would do with another person. It's not going to work here. Yeah. Any other strategy, any other tactic you'd use, it's not going to work with them. Throw it out.
Do you know what? What I find useful is you don't even have to lack compassion for the person. Something is wrong with them. Yeah. It's fine to have compassion for that. It's really often clinical. It's often their issue is clinical, and then how you should.
I mean, how you approach.
Yeah,
sorry, I mean,
no,
really
both,
clinical,
right? So you go, okay, I get that. I get that for whatever reason your brain is broken and you need to behave this way. Yep. That doesn't mean I need to suffer under the hand of that. So I will take the actions you're talking about.
And that leads me on to my next point. Just because they're breaking the rules doesn't mean you follow. So that's the other thing you've got to be really careful about.
Yes.
Because you need to hold yourself to the high, even though their behaviour might be abhorrent.
Yes.
You have to hold yourself to the high standard of professionalism, because the minute you don't, they'll find a way to get you. So even though their behaviour might be appalling, don't you go down to what they're doing. Don't drop to their level. That's very, very hard.
Yeah, very hard. And they will use it, but it also undermine anything you've created as a case.
Absolutely.
They will really want you to join them.
They want you to join them. And the minute you do, they will have kept a record of all the things you did wrong and all the times you called them a total friggin' asshole or a dickhead.
Yeah.
They'll have kept that.
And then it will be a personality difference.
And then it's a personality clash, isn't it? So this is what you can do. So these are the things that you do, right? Like think like a lawyer. If it's not written down, if it's not timed and dated and diarised, where's your case, right?
Yeah.
So you have to start being like, right, you start thinking, and I mean, I say this for any bullying case. If you think you're being bullied, you start keeping a record. How? Why? What was said? Don't say, and you might say, oh, I felt really scared or I felt really upset after this. And maybe you might say that part, but it's okay to say that, but don't be emotive with everything that you're saying. So also be like, such and such, was really rude to me and da-da-da. It's tell me what they said. Literally quote it.
Yeah, quote it.
Quote
so
it
they
like
said
you're a
this,
journalist.
I said that, they said this,
yes,
I
exactly.
said that.
Yep.
The conversation ended. I felt very afraid or upset at the end of that.
Yep.
But actually you're
be
quoting.
really factual, because the thing is, if people really want to, they need the facts. They do. So you've got to start thinking that way. So pull yourself out of the emotional turmoil, admittedly very difficult to do. Pull yourself out of that and start approaching it this way, because you have to be so clinical with this person. You have to really put down that wall. We're not looking at feelings. We're not looking at any of that stuff. I wouldn't, they are how they are because of whatever reason. It doesn't matter. I wouldn't even enter into worrying about why. I wouldn't even practice compassion for that person. I'd be like, this is how we're going to deal with you.
Yeah.
This is how it's going to be done, because you've actually got to protect yourself and your mental health here.
Yeah.
Because this person is incredibly damaging to that.
Absolutely.
Right? They're really dangerous.
The reason that I like compassion is the greatest breakthrough I've had in being less hurt by dangerous people is when I realise how effed in the head they are.
That's true.
I don't show it to them,
okay,
but it
fair.
works for me.
Yeah.
So what works for Andy is to say, don't attribute to malice what can be contributed to ignorance. So you don't assume they're doing it wrong.
Yeah, that's a really good saying.
He likes that one. It's called Hanlon's Razor. And what I like is I say, how much they're hurting you, imagine living in their head.
Yeah, that's actually a good one.
People would say for narcissism, sociopathy, psychopathy, well, their head's fine. They're not even suffering. I go, that's true, because they're not even alive.
No, they're not even alive.
They're not even alive.
Imagine living your life and not being able to make normal human connections with people. Yeah, that's what it's like. It would be very hard.
And they don't know
right.
it. But, so that you only use the compassion if it works like it does for me.
If it works for you, good point. So if it works for you to point, and you have to remember, the thing I say to people is, look, they are how they are, but don't approach them like you would a normal person.
No, that's right. So you can have the compassion and realise, as like anyone else, it's the same as, it's a ridiculous example, but it's the same as not showing a blind person a piece of paper and saying, what do you think of this? For someone with a personality disorder, you need to approach them as someone with a disorder that cannot communicate as a normal human would.
That is brilliant, because you wouldn't say to someone in a wheelchair, get up and walk.
Yeah, come on,
walk up those flight of stairs.
I walk up the stairs, you should.
Exactly. So we've got to understand that people who are narcissistic or people with sociopathy and psychopathy, they don't have the moral compass. They don't understand empathy. They actually just don't get it. So they can cognitively kind of get it, but they don't get it.
No.
And so they don't understand that the joy of having our relationships and connections with people is because we like that person. We want to connect with those people. We want to help. They're different. Right? They're just different. So understanding that's really important. So that's not a fault of yours. That's theirs. That's right. Okay. That's their thing. You keep your thing, but maintain a level of professionalism. Don't drop.
I think that thing about when you're questioning yourself, was that right what they said, particularly if you've got a level like we all do of insecurity or wanting to learn or whatever.
And especially if we're perfectionist types or high achievers or high standards.
Perfect, right?
And narcissistic bullies as well are incredibly good at going after the people who work hard, who are very competent, who try really hard and have unrelenting standards. They're the perfect people to pick on.
Of course they are.
Because you're going to worry, aren't you, that you didn't do the right thing.
There's an insecure drive behind that perfectionism, right?
Exactly.
I think the best advice for whether you've just had that kind of conversation is that sense of confusion. Confusion/icky.
Yeah. Yes.
It's not a formal term.
Factor.
The ick factor where you go,
ick factor. The Gen Z will say that's a formal term, just saying.
Right.
It gives me the ick. There's a whole bunch of reels made on the ick.
Okay.
Actually, I love that. So, if you've walked away from a conversation and you've raised this with this person, it was perfectly reasonable, you've done it in a perfectly professional way and you've walked away confused, suddenly you're the person in the wrong and the ick. Really great. Really good examples that you've just had a dealing with a narcissistic bully. And now you have to start thinking like a lawyer and you got to start being really careful.
So in my dream life, no one will find this useful. In reality, this will be very useful.
It's going to be very useful.
I almost feel like it's its own section. I feel like it's its own section that we post as this subject.
It could be.
As a, what do they say? As a, like not infomercial, like a come on brain, like a tutorial on this subject, right?
Well, a lot of people, I can't tell you how often this comes up for me. And the reason that people are talking about it is because it's happening, and a lot of workplaces don't want to acknowledge that this is an issue.
No.
And actually what we would do, what would make the narcissistic bully lose power is if everyone was educated about it. It would really put a spanner in their works, because they can't pull the wool over people's eyes, right? Because everybody knows. Anyway, so they're the things that you can do. As a manager, you've got to be really aware of these things. But if you're building a case and then you're going to the manager, you've got to be really factual and really clinical about it. So then you show your manager. Now, your manager might do one of two things. They'll either get on board with you and they'll go, wow, okay, yeah, completely. Let's go through and go through this process and really look at what we can do here. Or they'll go, this person's amazing and they're so good at their job. They're wicked competent. They're a great salesperson, or they hit all their KPIs and they hit their goals. I'm not prepared to get into it with this particular manager because they're more valuable to me in the company than they are out. And that can happen.
It can happen.
It can happen. It shouldn't, but it does. The other thing is I will say, from a psychosocial safety perspective, if you have a worker who has shown up with evidence that this is what they are dealing with, then and if this person now files a workers' compensation claim and you have done nothing to support them, well, good luck, because you are liable. You've done nothing. But the worker does have to take responsibility to make sure that they've collected the evidence that is sufficient, right? So anyway, so you do all of that. Now, the manager will do. Now, what will happen is they will probably pull this person in and they will have this discussion. Be prepared for that narcissistic bully to now turn everything back around on you and deny every single event. And that can be very difficult, because it's very disconcerting when you're looking at someone who literally outright denies it, when you know that it was you two and you know what happened, but they will literally tell you point blank to your face that's not what happened. And you've got to try very hard to remind yourself, well, this is what happened. That may not be your recollection. That's fine. But I did diarise all of this. And this is how I remember these events. And I don't believe I was mistaken.
So scary, man. Like, I imagine you go to the boss, you've got the evidence, the boss says, okay, I'm going to have a talk with the person. They have a talk with the person, and then the person comes back into your environment.
And this person's out to get you now.
Really out to get you.
So this is the other thing. When you've got someone like that, once they've been pulled up, they will gun for you even more, which is when I say to people, ask to switch teams, ask to be moved away from that person, ask to make sure that this person is not your immediate manager. There's multiple things that you can do within the organisation to say, I'm sorry, but actually dealing with this person is creating a huge amount of stress and anxiety for me because of X, Y, and Z. I have actually catalogued all of this evidence. I have actually tried to go through all the appropriate channels. I am not prepared to deal with this person anymore. It is now your responsibility, because as far as safe and practicable, to find an alternative solution, which could mean moving to a different team or having a different person to report to. Right? Now, organisations will sometimes do that. If they don't, just remember, if that person now claims psychological injury, you haven't done anything that's reasonable and practical to stop that. So just
ideally, we want the narcissistic bully being managed
removed
out. But this is the situation where potentially there hasn't been enough evidence, or the manager is unwilling to remove the person because of their high performing.
That can happen.
So then it's like unideal, but because you might not want to move apart from wanting to avoid that person. So you're sort of taking it on the chin, but it's keeping in reality around what's possible.
And this is when I talk about bullying, there's three levels, right? It is cope, escalate, or exit.
Okay.
So here are your three levels. When you're being bullied in the workplace, you have three options. You can cope with what's happening and just take it on the chin, I guess, and just, let it go. You can escalate it, which is when you go and collect evidence about this person and you try to escalate it so that something happens to that person that's bullying you, so that they are either removed or or you're being put in a different team, or there's a different way that we can make the management work, whatever it is, or you exit and exit safely, right? Most of the time, if you are dealing with a narcissistic boss, for example, or a narcissistic team leader, you're going to need to exit.
Yeah,
safe.
I'd say you'd end up exiting.
And you've got to remember that the whole way through, the steps that you take is what can you do to protect your mental health? Because we can argue and lament about how it's not fair, and that's fine. You're absolutely entitled to feel angry and that it isn't fair, and that's completely reasonable.
Yeah.
Because it isn't.
No.
And actually, in a perfect world, like you say, in an ideal world, this wouldn't happen, and people who did this would be removed immediately. But let's face it, it's not an ideal world. That's not what happens, right?
From it.
So that's when we actually have to say to this person, okay, all right, so you can cope and you can go into work every day and know that you're going to be dealing with this sort of nonsense from this person, and you can decide whether or not you're prepared to deal with that. You escalate it. So you've gone to the person above them. You've said, right, I'm putting a proper case together. I don't want to be, I'm not prepared to put up with this anymore from this person. You guys now need to do something, or you exit safely. And the exiting safely is you keep your professionalism to the end. You make sure that you keep as many good relationships as you possibly can, and you make sure that that narcissistic bully is not one of your referees. And you exit. These are your options. And sometimes people get upset about that because it isn't fair, and I acknowledge it isn't fair, but they're your options.
Well, it's I heard an example recently about getting in a cage with a tiger and realising that they're not the right person to be in a cage with, or not the right animal. And the first time you get in, if you weren't aware of that, you're going to be very damaged. Having exited the cage, you have to make the decision, do I want to go back in there? Because they're always going to be a tiger.
They're always going to be a tiger.
And that's the thing with these kind of personality disorders. They, as far as I can tell as a non-professional in the area, they're intractable. People do not recover from them.
They don't recover. No. They are who they are. It doesn't change.
It's not going to change.
Yeah, and so this kind of, because some people will try to fix them.
Of course.
Because,
and very tempting to.
It's very tempting to do that. You will not.
No,
don't bother.
No.
Disengage.
Yeah.
Disengage.
Yeah.
Because you are absolutely right. That tiger analogy is bloody brilliant. They are still going to be a tiger.
Then they can't help but be anything but a tiger.
No. And that's okay. That's fine. But it's your choice if you want to get in the cage.
Yeah, I'm not getting in again.
Yeah. And if you don't want to get in again, it'll probably be your smartest option.
Right.
And that's why I say to people when they are dealing with bullying, particularly when it's really nasty and it's narcissistic, you really do have to be aware. I mean, I think leadership needs to be a heck of a lot more accountable on things like this.
Yes.
And that means educating themselves, learning what those signs are, and learning how to protect their teams. If you should not be allowing a high performer to behave how they want just because they're a high performer. But a lot of places do.
Of course, because the judgment is, are they making the best money, which brings us full circle to go, you're going to lose a lot more money having that person there than you will having them. It's a complete misunderstanding.
It's like a false economy.
It's such a false. It's like when, so many times I've trained people and Marjorie's been there 27 years. She's a horror. She ruins everyone's life. But she knows how to work the photocopier. It's like train someone else to use the photocopier. Marjorie has cost you $5.7 million in the last 27 years.
Get rid of Marjorie.
Wake up.
Such a good point. Exactly. And that's the point where we have to go, like, managers leadership teams need to be aware this is a very real thing, and they will often write it off as personality clashes. But if you've got one person that's come to you with all that evidence, and then I always say to people, if you're experiencing that yourself as a bully, you're being bullied, other people will be too. So it's a really good example. I would often say to other people, okay, just quietly say to someone, hey, have you thought about keeping a diary of what's happening to you too? You don't have to collude together or anything like that. But it also gives this, we've got to empower people in this decision. Now, sometimes the choices aren't good, but they are how they are.
Yeah.
But one of the sad things about bullying, and particularly narcissistic bullies, is because it undermines the psychological safety of the entire organisation. Because if they get away with it because they're hitting KPIs, and they're a great performer or a great salesperson because they're charismatic and fun.
Yeah.
That's one of the problems and now everybody else knows, as long as I keep making you money, then I can do what I want. And then you, as you say, you will have people just exit the organisation. And then you have to retrain all of those people.
Costs a fortune.
Costs a bloody fortune. We know recruitment costs a fortune.
I mean, when I knew the data 20 years ago, it was about $100,000 to bring in someone new. It's probably $250 now.
Yeah, it probably is.
Right?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Salary, training, getting up to speed.
Upskilling,
the
all
loss
the training.
Of the brains
loss
that
of
left.
The brain, loss of that mentorship fortune.
Fortune.
Absolute fortune.
That's a good note to end. It's a fortune. Be loving.
It's a fortune. So just be loving. I love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's always a joy.
Always a pleasure. Thanks, Tam.
Thanks, Tanya.